around a little bit. But yeah, there's a big Trump rally here in Lake Oswego and a counter protest as well. So most of the marchers for Trump have kind of come back around, it looks like. This is State Street in Lake Oswego, and you can see the Trump flags up there. But you can also see a big counter protest mostly across the street here in Lake Oswego. So you can see that. It's very nice. And,
it takes a lot of guts to cover your face up in public, you know.
Different types of flags and so forth and so on. So here it is. I have 5 people watching so far. I know it's going to kick in. And so Lake Oswego, interesting place for assault officers from Lake Oswego, Wall and Gresham, Portland. I've seen them from all over. Now they're coming through right now to get the bus through. And I'm going to go up in there and see.
Fascist USA! No Trump! No KKK! No Fascist USA! No Trump! No KKK! No Fascist USA! No Trump! No KKK! No
So you can see on this side, no KKK, no Fascist USA. On the other side of the Trump supporters. I don't know if they're going to try and get through this time or not. Last time, they came down just a little way from the park where they were located, and then I just turned here. It looks like maybe they're I'll give you a bigger round of
For the March for Trump, it's a rally in support of the president. Violent protests broke out the last time at Cal, the last time a supporter of Mr. Trump was scheduled to speak at an event on campus. KRON 4's Avery Harper is now live in Berkeley with the latest on that. Avery?
Good morning. Preparations for a pair of protests are already underway here at MLK Civic Center Park in Berkeley. A anti-Trump group says they are going to be meeting here at noon, and a pro-Trump group says they're going to be meeting here just a couple of hours later. And I can tell you that there have already been crews here at this early hour this morning trying to clear debris and garbage and trash out of the park. Anything that could be used as a weapon against officers or for protesters to use on each other this morning. They've even been clearing out some of the garbage cans here to ensure that no fires can be lit in the metal garbage cans that are here in the park. Now, the last time there was a rally of this nature, things turned violent here in Berkeley. Take a look at that video that we have from UC Berkeley. This is when the college Republicans on the UC Berkeley campus hosted an alt-writer and then the editor of Breitbart News on campus. That's when an outside group started to vandalize the student union and surrounding areas. With a counter-protest scheduled, many fear that there could be clashes between the pro- and anti-Trump groups. Others doubt that the pro-Trump protest is legitimate. The UC Berkeley College Republicans say they're not attending. Take a listen to what one person told us.
We do not plan on attending the event. No, we have no idea if the event will proceed. We have not had any official emails about this. We have not been contacted about this. Maybe setting up a trap to get Trump supporters to come out and they could target them and harass them. We're fearing for our safety, really. We're not sure if the protesters will once again become violent.
Now, if you're familiar with Berkeley, you know that the MLK Civic Center Park is right across the street from Berkeley Police Department. And even this morning, hours ahead of these events, we've seen a heavy police presence in and around the...
Developing news, anger boiling over in Berkeley. As fights break out between anti-Trump protesters and the president's supporters. And good evening, I'm Juliette Goodrich.
And I'm Brian Hackney. KPX5 reporter Don Lynn was there at that fight you just saw. Pretty intense out there.
Yeah, I want to warn the folks watching at home, you're about to see some very violent footage. Now, what we saw today was not democracy. Instead, what we saw, just pretty much all violence. It was a free-for-all. Trump supporters and anti-Trump protesters going at it. Sometimes it was one-on-one. Other times, large groups of people punching, kicking, and hitting each other with sticks. Bloody noses and faces
Oh, he just crashed. Just pissed, yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
There were so many fights, we lost count. Police officers stood by and watched as fight after fight after fight broke out between both sides.
I feel like they should have probably done some a bit sooner. There's already been like 3 or 4 fights. Several people have been pepper sprayed.
Some instigators used pepper spray. Others threw some kind of smoke canister into the crowd. And someone set off fireworks.
This is a sad day, and that we're better than this.
Yeah, so on the Trump supporter side, we saw about 60 to 70 people. On the anti-Trump protesters side, we saw about 150 to about 200. Some of those, including anarchists, folks with ski masks and all that. We don't have the exact number of folks who were injured, but I saw quite a few people, at least 4 to 5 people with bloody faces, and a lot more people with bruises to their faces and hands and all. So far, we saw 2 people detained by police officers, but for the most part, officers kind of, kept back and kind of gave a hands-off approach. Juliet?
We've seen that stance before from officers. They also didn't move in during the violent Cal protests. So what are they saying about not moving in?
Yeah, they're not giving us an answer, but they're just kind of staying at the edge of the park. We're thinking maybe they're concerned about their own safety. Maybe they don't want to instigate or cause the crowd to even get even more violent. But for the most part, they're just kind of watching the fights happening. And so there are a lot of folks who are frustrated that they weren't moving in to try to break up the fight. Exactly why? Is that their strategy? We're not exactly sure. They haven't really said much to the media about that. Juliet?
All right, Daw, thank you.
Several hundred Trump backers gathered at the State House in Austin. In the nation's capital, they listened to speakers beneath the Washington Monument and then marched to a park near the White House. In New York City, people braved the cold and stood in groups near Trump Tower.
We're going to support him from now, from the beginning, to right to the end.
We want him to make America great again, and he will do that.
And safe again. Yes. He wants to be our president, not the world's president. We don't need that. We need someone to take care of us at home.
Organizers say today's rallies were meant as a show of unity against what they call a seditious fringe allegedly trying to sabotage the president.
Good evening. The title of our episode is The March for Trump, with a 4 there. It's sort of like one of Trump's text messages on Saturday from coast to coast, Lake Oswego, Oregon, down to Berkeley, California, over to Austin, Texas, in other cities, point to point, Washington, D.C., the upper Midwest, in St. Paul, the Capitol Rotunda there, and in various other cities along the way, Tennessee, etc. Most of the turnout for this show of support for DJ Trump was rather small. In Berkeley, it was under 100 people, according to the report you just heard. In other places, there were a couple of hundred people. In, I believe in Pennsylvania, there were 300 or 400 people. These marches were literally all over the place, and we've been looking at some of these places that they occurred, and we decided to do a special broadcast here on the 5th of March, 2017, brought to you from WBRN radio in Boston and on the Boston Red Network. You'll see this on various, or hear this on various channels later today and on Sunday, and of course we'll be with you on the Monday morning quarterback on Monday morning to look at other parts of this. We'll visit some of these cities here. Shouts, scuffles, punches, pro-Trump rally that was in the state capitol there in Minnesota. And that was an indoor activity, basically speaking, interviewing several people here. Some, the lady Anne-Marie Cosgrove, 59-year-old educator, lifetime Northeast Minneapolis resident, is tired of near constant protest directed at President Trump. She was joined by about 400 people at the Minnesota state capitol there, and there were other protesters also on the other side of the aisle. Here, scuffles, shouts, and various other characters here. Stephen Lamont, he's a 30-year-old plumber from Rush City, came there with a group of friends. He too blasted a negative character of Trump supporters, saying voters like him back Trump because the middle class had been squeezed by policymakers in Washington. The characterization, let me get his comments right. I am sick of hard left always putting a label on individuals like you as racist and you as homophobic, etc. Lamont described himself as a disillusioned Democrat, and he's hear quite a bit of this, who twice voted for President Obama. The American dream, he said, drifted out of reach for many. He said he blamed Democrat policies and trade deals like the North American Atlantic Treaty Organization. In other words, those are a little bit different, being 25 years old and still living at your mother's and dad's is not the American dream, Lamont said. Well, Lamont is a plumber. I suppose he got part of the American dream there. And we saw quite a bit of this in places like Pennsylvania and in Iowa, in areas that voted for President Obama. This time around voted for DJ Trump. That's just part of the story. And it's been a very, very confusing situation for many. Flipping here to another city, a big sign here you'll see it on our marquee. Deplorable and proud of it. This is Raleigh, North Carolina. Supporters of DJ Trump were there in the state capital of Raleigh, and also in town, showing unity in face of what organized this is called the seditious fringe. Not certain how seditious they are. The crowd, the real Trump, could hear some of the protesters with horns and others near the Fairfax Mall. Trump supporters held rallies in recent weeks to counter demonstrations inside at Fairfax Mall. That's in Raleigh. Protesters there in North Carolina gathering. This is the Fairfax Mall. Numerous speakers spoke there. Relatively small demonstrations, though, however. Just looking at it here, less than 25 in the photo that we see here. Now, as we move on across the nation, this is a dispatch from WRAL. Here, this is in New York. Supporters of Trump, of course, they were at the Trump Tower, roughly about 200 of them. And in other areas, a couple of hundred supporters. That was near the Trump Tower, shouting USA. And this is the Raleigh Fayetteville area, I guess it is. Here, we picked up some of these that try to be scandal at Camp Lejeune, that's in North Carolina, also prompts investigation into nude photos. I mean, there's always something, excitement around, and I suppose this is some of it out of North Carolina. Here, let's move on as we look around the nation here. This is KATU. This is the Lake Oswego, Oregon. You heard this earlier. We won't only at the small town. They were walking down a little lake road in the park there. 400 people evidently claimed they were coming at, let's see, George Rogers City Park in Lake Oswego, Oregon. It appeared there were less. It was very hard to tell because very narrow roads there. Now, Stand for Love, that was a counter rally in Lake Oswego, L-O-V-E-L-O, capital, and VE. So you had various dueling rallies, as it did in most of these operations, period. And I guess this is more Lake Oswego. We won't get over it. This is the march. Big sign up here, meeting at the park. Liberal anarchists need not apply, make America great again, bring a flag. So evidently people brought a flag along to signify their support for DJ Trump and his Make America Great Again operation. In the meantime, DJ Trump himself was busy on Twitter accusing President Obama of literally tapping his office at Trump Tower and his residence. Let me just get to it. We'd be remiss in not talking about it here. He, of course, DJ Trump was in Florida. Trump's had his Twitter storm. In other words, while his people were out there demonstrating in small numbers, old Trump was on his Twitter. Turbo just found out that Obama had my wires tapped in Trump Tower just before the victory. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism. This is Trump speaking here. Trump fired out in his first of 4 Twitters. He always has a number of them there. The charge is reminiscent of the early days of his political ascendancy. He was in the birther movement there. That's when we first encountered him. We have as a president, a man who is erratic, vindictive, volatile, obsessive, and a chronic liar that is prone to believe in conspiracy theories. That is from a conservative commentator, Peter Vanier. He was the top strategist in G.W. Bush's White House. So it goes on. We'll have this on the Monday Morning Quarterback. We'll look at some of the talk shows. It would be helpful if he'd turn to the intelligence community for any evidence. That's from Susan Collins. She was on Face the Nation. But the outrage goes on with DJ Trump. A lot of salvos being fired all at the same time. From the FBI Director Carney, asked the Department of Justice this weekend to issue a statement refuting President Trump's claim that President Barack Obama ordered a wiretap of his phones before the election. It made the request on Saturday after Trump accused President Obama in a tweet of wiretap in a Trump Tower. This was first reported by the New York Times. Underscores the fragile nature of the FBI's high-profile investigation into the Russian Federation's meddling in the 2016 investigation. A key question that the inquiry is whether Trump's associates colluded with Russian officials to help Trump. Neither the Justice Department nor the FBI would comment on this, but this is a very, very important situation. General Clapper, he was Director of National Intelligence, denied that the FISA court, that's the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA court wiretap was authorized against Trump or the campaign during his tenure. And he was on Meet the Press, and you can get where he stated that it was not the case. This is from General Clapper. This is Nixon and Watergate. That's another one of DJ Trump's tweets. And evidently it appears as DJ Trump, for Trump rallies around the nation were rather sparse, he decided to fire the crowd of himself, and in fact he did. But now this is all over the place. The FBI is involved there. His buddy, the little general known as Beauregard Sessions, he's involved in this once again, and it is just, I don't know what you'd call it. Well, the FICA court's application, denial of that application, or resubmission of that application, that doesn't mean none of these things happen. It means we haven't seen that yet. That was from Cotton. Now, Tom Cotton is he's on the Senate Intelligence Committee member, but said he had seen no allegations. He's from Arkansas. Marco Vegas Rubio said he's unaware of evidence to back up the president's claim. So in other words, DJ Trump is floating out there all by himself. Charles Schumer, he was on, he's the Senate Minority Leader, admit to press that Trump is in trouble and acting beneath the dignity of the presidency, if there's any dignity there. And so in other words, this thing goes on and on. The White House Deputy Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee, she's the daughter of Huckabee. Sanders repeatedly said that the president's allegation was worth looking into. Huckabee Sanders, sorry about that. Well, anyway, whether or not they'll look into it or not is we just don't know. Perhaps they will look into it. Perhaps they will not look into it. This whole situation here is one that we'll have on the Monday morning quarterback. Obviously, we can do nothing with it at this stage of the game. Somewhere here we were looking on yesterday. We'll get to that New York Times article here. There's so many articles going at one time here. President Obama incidentally issued a statement denying any type of involvement whatsoever there. And this whole thing, wiretapping pushes Trump's presidency into roads with no guardrails. This is from Karen Tumley. And she's been around a long time. We read Karen, the debriefing. Trump's presidency has veered onto a road with no center line or guardrails. The president's accusation that his predecessor, Barack Obama, had tapped his phone during a very scary election process, escalated on Sunday into the White House, called for congressional investigation. The audacious tactic is a familiar one for Trump, who has little regard for norms and conventions. When he wants to change the subject, he often does by touching a match onto a dry kindling of a sketchy conspiracy theory. But the stakes have gotten higher and the consequences more real and serious as questions mount over Moscow's repeated attempts to interfere in last year's election. This is an example of a theory that, as far as we can see, has very little legs. But what happens is they can put legs on it. It's like screwing legs on the proverbial chair. The thing will have legs, and then what is lost there is the evidentiary situation, because now you have the FICA court involved. Did the Justice Department or the FBI or the CIA or whomever go to the FICA court? And supposedly the story was rejected, then it was not. Well, that if the FICA court entertained an order, it means they saw probable cause there to put the order in effect. So once again, Trump loses. Period. And Karen goes on to say, so explosive was the unsubstantiated wiretap allegations that again the FBI Director James Comey appears and asked to take the extraordinary step of issuing a statement rebutting a U.S. official, said in confirming a report Sunday in the New York Times. The process of obtaining permission to conduct this, we taught wiretap on an American in a foreign country is odious one. It turns out that the government agency put one on Trump around him. If that happened, an obvious question would be what evidence was used. And so in other words, this opens up a can of worms. Terrible. Just found out, this is Trump speaking here, but my wires were tapped in Trump Tower before the election. Nothing found. This is McCarthyism. This is one of the tweets that he fired out. But the voice of the U.S. chief executive, in normal times, I'd add, carries much greater weight than that of just about anyone else on the planet. Trump detractors say the way he uses the platform has worrisome implications, no doubt about it. We already talked about Peter Van Meer and his machinations on Trump. Now, what Trump has basically done is any traction he may have gotten off of his several hundred protesters out there on a Saturday is all now gone, because now he has nothing but a series of protesters that are coming live on a scandal that he does not want to be anywhere around to be the recipient of. So in other words, he's now got a story on Sundays playing on all the talk shows, and he is in the bullseye of it. And at the same time, he'll have a Monday story there on all of the Monday morning shows, something that he just simply did not want to happen. Now, this is the Times story. I think Hallie put this up. Anyway, Comey asked the Justice Department to reject Trump's wiretap claim. This is Washington. The FBI director this weekend publicly rejected DJ Trump's assertion that President Obama ordered the wiretaps of Mr. Trump's phone. Senior American officials said Sunday. Mr. Comey has argued that the Hallie charge claim is false and must be corrected, they say, but the department has not released any such statement. Comey, who made the request on Saturday after Trump levied his allegations on Twitter. A spokesman for the FBI declined to comment. Sarah Flores. Anyway, the spokesman for the Justice Department also declined Comey's request as a remarkable rebut of a sitting president, putting the nation's top law enforcement officer in a position of questioning the truthfulness of DJ Trump. Now, if DJ Trump fires Comey, well, he just fires Comey. Where does that leave the little Colonel Beauregard Sessions in a hot seat? The White House has shown no indication that it would back down from the claim on Sunday. The president demanded now a congressional investigation. So what he's done here, he's basically attacked the FICA courts, and at the same time, he's now punting it to the Republican Congress, who are the source of his power. This could turn out rather badly for the GOP in the first instance. In a statement from his Trump called reports about wiretapping very troubling and said that Congress should examine them as part of its investigation into the Russian meddling, along with concerns about potential attacks on the Bureau's credibility. Senior FBI officials are said to be worried that the notion of a court-approved wiretap would raise public expectations that the federal authorities had significant evidence implicating the Trump campaign in colluding with the Russian authorities. One problem Mr. Comey has faced is that there are a few senior politically appointed officials at the Justice Department who can make the decision to release a statement. The official said that the Attorney General, again, this has recused himself, that's Beauregard Sessions, from all matters related to it. The investigation there, Comey behind the scenes maneuvering is certainly to invite contrast to his action last year. It's not clear why Comey did not issue the statement himself. He is the most senior law enforcement official who was kept on the job after President Obama departed. And I would imagine DJ is not thinking favorably upon that. He's probably figuring how he can get rid of Comey, but he can't get rid of him right now. In demand for congressional inquiry, the president, through his mouthpiece, issued a statement saying that President Trump is requesting as part of their investigation into Russian activity. The Congressional Intelligence Committees, plural, exercise their oversight authority to determine whether the executive branch investigative powers were abused. Well, again, this is a very, very shaky situation. A spokesman for President Obama has called the accusations by Trump completely false, saying that President Obama never ordered any wiretaps of a U.S. citizen. The cardinal rule of the Obama administration was that no White House official ever interfered with an independent investigation led by the Department of Justice. That's from Kevin Lewis. There, he's a spokesman. Trump demands for a congressional investigation appeared to be based, at least in part, on an unproved claim, again, by Breitbart News and talk show and conservative talk show hosts that the secret warrants were issued authorizing the taps of Trump's phone and his aides at Trump Tower. A series of Trump messages on Saturday. The president seemed to be convinced these claims were true, and in part Trump said, "I bet a good lawyer could make a great case out of the fact that President Obama was tapping my phone in October, just prior to the election." And we already talked about this Sarah Huckabee Sanders character, and claims about the wiretapping appear similar in ways to the unfolding voter fraud. We forgot about that one. See, DJ Trump's got so many schemes going along. It's just after Election Day he reiterated a series of tweet posts that he believes millions of voters cast votes illegally. So, I mean, Trump's got a conspiracy theory every day. Senior law enforcement officers and intelligence officers who worked in the Obama administration said there were no secret intelligence warrants regarding Trump. Asked whether a warrant exists. We talked about General Clapper, Admiral Clapper. There's no such wiretap information. So this goes on and on and on. He appeared on Trump demands for congressional investigation were initially met with skepticism by lawmakers, including Republicans, appearing on a State of the Union. That was Marco Vegas Rubio. So this is where we stand on the march for Trump. And Trump, I guess, decided to be the drum major of his own march. And he got on Twitter and he tweeted. And now he has a Monday morning, what my old dear and late friend Jeannie Lyles would say, a mess. Literally. Because what's happening here is basically you have the intelligence agencies, that would be the CIA, NSA, etc., many we do not know about, all lined up in opposition to Trump. Now the FBI has jumped in. They're the chief investigative arm of the federal government is in there. And you have Republicans in Congress feeling the heat. Some of these Republican types couldn't go to their own town hall meetings, had to be escorted out by police. So in spite of these little sparse crowds around the country running out there yelling, Trump, 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 make America great again, they're not making America great again. All they're creating is utter confusion. And the administration, such as their immigration order, fell down. That was a major defeat for DJ Trump. So DJ Trump had promised to get a new order out. He hasn't produced one as of yet. The voter fraud allegations, well, he's forgot about that. It's sort of like with the Burpee thing. When that, as they say, burned out, he moved on to President Obama's college transcript. His next step was deciding whether or not he was going to enter the presidential race. Our advice to him was not to. And the general feeling was too costly for him, but Trump figured, well, he had nothing else to do. So he enters the race. People didn't give him a chance of winning. In what the magician, officio, whatever you want to call him, Karl Rove said was the strongest field they'd ever had. Well, Trump knocked him down like little dominoes, one by one by one. And Marco Vegas Rubio bit the dust. light energy Bush bit the dust. He was the favorite. Jeb Bush hadn't been heard from since. I guess he's running around. In fact, I think he started running marathons. Anyway, and then there was Lyin' Ted. I think he was the last one to go down. And the whole idea, they even thought about dragging Mitt Romney back. He couldn't cut the mustard. And then there was the thing in the Trump campaign about bringing Mitt Romney into it. He was played for suckers the same way as, not as badly as Two-Ton Christie. Now Two-Ton Christie's even a critic of the administration. What's happened here, and Trump doesn't quite understand this, in the political field as opposed to in the business field, yes, you have business enemies, but at the same time, if it happens to be advantageous for the parties, there are business deals made. In other words, you don't have to like each other to make a business deal. The business deal is made under interest. But what's happening here is in Washington, you have all kinds of quote-unquote interests around. You have lobbyists of all stripes and the people they represent, and you have lawmakers there that have their own agendas based upon their fundraising capabilities, based upon their parties. And so, in other words, you have a lot of things going on, and you have the various branches, the courts, have their own interests. The legislative branch, that's the Republicans, they're trying to figure out the tea leaves in which direction to go, because they've invested everything in DJ Trump. So if DJ Trump goes down the proverbial tube, as LBJ would say, they are going with him because they have invested in him. So now they're out there trying to investigate him. If they're accused of whitewashing this, if a Trump march will be marching south, literally where it was in Florida. So this is really what the stakes are here, and what we're attempting here to try to present both sides of the coin, not necessarily in a fair and impartial way, but just presenting it out here. So this is a reason for the special program, the March for Trump on the 5th of March 2017. We'll see you on the Monday morning quarterback. Incidentally, new numbers man is out. You can check that on WBRN and also on BostonRed.com. It appears there, and on our various Twitter and Facebook feeds around the cycle. Have a good rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you on the Monday morning quarterback. And also we have an open source report out. That is our technical report. We'll talk about Linux servers there and how to make them secure. Good day.